Aren't you going to get in a picture?
God, no.
As you all can see, I do try to get her to come into the picture.
They don't need me in the picture.
Yes, they do.
I might do it next week because we did do it last year.
Good evening.
We did.
Carrie, I'm trying to get her to show her face in the thing, but she won't do it.
We did do it last year for Valentine's Day, remember?
Good evening, eh?
I think that would be fun to do that again.
Yeah, it would be. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Carrie. Yeah, I think we actually did it on Valentine's Day last year, too.
Really?
Yeah. Valentine's Day is next Friday. You could do it.
Wabash Valley.
Guns and wine. Yes, we do. Please show your face.
I agree. I keep telling her.
Y'all see me sometimes.
San Antone.
I was just in San Antonio last weekend. Korea.
Oh my goodness. Did you see my my video on the K1 and the
Heather,
K2?
you made fun of me for not having a girlfriend. Did I do that last year?
Probably. It sounds like you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Mitt Romney does suck. I don't get political on here, but I will agree with you. He does
Chris,
suck.
Stop.
Georgia.
You're going to go down a path that you're going to wish that you didn't go down.
I'll get kicked out.
We did not get any snow. We're in Houston, so Houston missed it. But I heard San Antonio got some.
Austin got some snow.
Oh. Yeah, it was weird. Like, it's so late, too. People back in New York are getting hammered.
Yeah. I spoke to my doctor's office today, actually, out there in Rochester, New York, and oh yeah, they got California. I'm so sorry.
I love when they say behind enemy
it
lines.
Is. That's not an iron curtain. That's a titanium curtain.
Okay, I think we're gonna jump right in, guys.
Hey, Brett.
If you would like to ask a question, please go ahead and pop it in the Say Something line. You don't have to ask it repeatedly in a row for me to pull it. I try to stay in the same place as best as possible when I pull it. If you would like to skirt the line and get priority, a donation is always much appreciated. You can click the $sign and attach a donation there. Or if you just want to donate to SAS, that's also a good way to do it. I will also put a link in here to Donor Box. They don't rob us as much as Google does. They take about 2% versus Google takes about 30% of your donations. So that's always our preferred way. I'll get an email that gives me your donation, and you can pop your question in the comment section of Donor Box, and I'll get an email, and it's the same thing. You will get priority over all the other questions that are coming through, but we do not, of course, take paid questions with us.
Shout out to Brent. Thank him for taking some time to take a whole bunch of pictures of his service M17 for my upcoming video on the Sig P320 M8. So thank you for taking the time to take those pictures for me.
Was that the one we already put up, or was that the one that's
we just filmed it?
Yeah, he did send a lot of photos for that.
It's gonna be another one of those good sized videos that some of you like and some don't.
Manuel on Donor Box, thank you, Manuel. He said, what would the QC differences be between something like a lower receiver from Colt versus Aero Precision? I've seen from your other videos that Colt lost their contract as the main supplier to FN in part because they could produce at half the cost, but I'm wondering what else could justify cost differences.
I would say there's no difference in quality. They're both made from 7075 T6 aircraft forgings. They both conform to to the same specifications. As I said, I've used Aero Precision for many, many years. It's awesome stuff. I've never had a problem. I've never had anything to go back. The fit and finish is just as good between the two. Your Colt, you're going to be paying for the Hartford Horsey on it. That's what you're going to be paying for. You're not going to be paying for a low receiver that's any better quality. I would definitely say that for your money, Aero Precision is definitely a way to go.
Hey, Joe, he's saying, would you consider placing a $1 tier option on Patreon so some of us that stretch out our money can help our favorite content creators? You can put in whatever dollar amount you want. We have people at $1 level, so you should be able to pop in $1 there. I think the tiers are just there to show like what you can get. Whereas for us, the only difference is at the $10 level, there's a private Q&A for those guys that all their questions are asked and answered and no donations are taken. But yeah, you can totally donate, come in at $1 level, and we appreciate everything. So let me know if you have any other problems doing that. I can help you out. Lloyd on DonorBox, thank you, Lloyd. He said, Chris, good evening. I have a new less than 1,000 rounds Gen 4 Glock 41 MOS with an RMR. It intermittently fails to cycle properly, extract, and feed, shooting one-handed only, both strong and weak, using 230 grain hardball factory, not limp wristing, death grip on gun, retired 30-year federal LEO firearms instruction. What are your thoughts?
Well, having that failure means the gun's not getting something to recoil against. I know you hate to hear the word limp wristing, but generally, when any gun does that, Glocks particularly are a gun that you have to, they're light, so you got to give them something to recoil against. Now, if it's not the way the gun's being held, and if it's not getting enough, force, enough force for it to cycle, I would try a different kind of ammunition or a different magazine. If not, it needs to go back to Glock. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. One time I've ever seen those failures to feed and failures any failure like that, it's always been from not holding it properly. I have a Glock 41 myself, and I've never had that issue. I've got quite a few rounds out of it. It sounds like something within the recoil. Recoil spring issue. It could be too heavy or too loose. It's hard to say, but unfortunately, the first place that I would go to with that would be, you're shooting it just for the hell of it. I would have somebody else shoot it, and see if it still happens to them. That would be one way to take the recoil end of it out of it. If you get into somebody else and the same thing happens, then the thing needs to go back to Glock.
Why don't you shift down a little bit this way, just because your foot is very close to that power strip. And we all know Chris sometimes likes to put his foot down on the power strip. Steve on DonorBox, thank you, Steve. So will a rifle length gas system in a 24-inch long 6.5 Creedmoor barrel be a likely reliability problem?
Yes, it would be a problem. It would be ideal, actually. That would be an ideal system for that 6.5 Creedmoor. And
I have a donation here from Danny Yang, but there was no question attached to it. So Danny, if you have a question, please let me know. You can also just email it to me at hbartachi@smallarmsolutions.com, and we'll get a response either to you in the Q&A, or we can email it to you, whichever you prefer. Hey, Blitz. What are your thoughts on clamp-on gas blocks? Is there anything I can do to increase the security of a clamp-on gas block?
Don't like them myself, never have, never will. The ones that I would recommend would be the ones with the set screws that are at 12 o'clock that go in, not the ones that clamp on the side. And what I would recommend is once you get everything set, you pull one of the screws out and take a drill and put a real light valley in it. Put some Loctite, the red Loctite on the screw it down in. That way it'll actually go into the barrel, and that should help prevent it from moving. I'm just a fan of the the drill and pin gas blocks. That's the only way to know for sure you're never going to have any problems. But that's how I would do it. Would be just put a little dimple in there and some really good red Loctite and torquing it down. Miami.
Hopefully everything is running okay technically, because I just got an alert saying that it's lagging a little bit. So hopefully we're not going to have internet issues tonight. What's your opinion on a 5-inch AR-15?
I have a very poor opinion on it. Barrel is too short. When that sucker's trying to extract, you have extremely high residual pressure. It's not something that I would ever want to depend on for my life. There's a reason why most of the major gun manufacturers don't go below 10.5. 10.5 is the minimum you would have that you could maintain good reliability. I'm not a fan of those whatsoever. Those 5-inch barrels, quite frankly, it's pretty useless because you lose so much. You have so much unburnt propellant. You're giving yourself a humongous flash, and by not burning up the propellant and not having enough, having enough space in the barrel for the bolt to increase velocity, it's just is totally ineffective. You're better off with a 9mm pistol.
Have you been able to get your hands on a Sons of Liberty Gunworks AR? If so, what do you think of the quality?
Not yet. I have put in a call to them a while back and never heard back, but I will be following up with them on it.
Thinking of getting an EAA Windicator 357 revolver. How is the quality?
Yeah, they're an importer. They generally bring in decent stuff. I haven't really messed around with any of their revolvers, so I'm sorry I can't give you any better information than that. But EAA is a quality company, so they would stand by anything that they would bring in.
Thank you, Gianfranco. Hopefully, I didn't butcher his name. Pisani, Gianfranco Pisani.
Gianfranco Pisani.
Well, I can't say it like that.
Because you're not Italian.
Well, you're a Yankee.
So.
Not a question, just supporting these Q&As and the channel. Best thing since Jesus. Thank you so much.
Got to.
He's just a little bitter because he told me earlier today that a goal of his would be to ride a Longhorn through a Whataburger drive-through. And I told him that he's not able to do that because he's a Yankee and he didn't really enjoy that too much. I told him that maybe a donkey or something like that.
Yeah, so that's why we're doing right at Jackass.
So as you can see, he's using the fact that I can't tap into the Italian. He's bitter over here. Thank you. What are your thoughts or opinions on the Mexican service rifle, the FX05? Xochitl with its polygonal rifle?
To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not familiar with it.
I totally butchered that. Do you want me to look it up?
Yeah.
Here, I'll say this next one while I'm looking it up. Noveske versus Daniel Defense Barrel, which is better?
Well, I've used both. And one thing I do like about Daniel Defense is they have cold hammer forged barrels. So for a combat rifle, I think I would prefer the Daniel Defense. If I wanted a more accuracy or more precision, I'd probably go with Noveske.
There you go.
No, I have to say that I'm not familiar with that. I will be looking into it.
I guess it is lagging.
It looks like a G3. Oh, that's what else said too. Looks like a G36. I hope it's better than the G36. Hopefully they learn from its problems.
If there was anything that cut out that y'all didn't hear, especially if it was one of your questions, just let me know. I'll have them re-say it. And I did pop in the donor box link for the people asking for it. That wasn't there. So you
yeah, it's good. I'll look into it.
What his question? Did you answer it?
Yeah,
your thoughts or opinions
I said that
on it?
I don't have enough information to to give any kind of opinion. Yeah, just do some research.
I mean, I wouldn't want y'all to miss the part where I said that he wanted to ride through on a Longhorn through a Whataburger driver. Any thoughts on Trijicon night sights for modern sporting rifles?
When I was a kid, I had a Trijicon Tritium front sight post in my AR-15A2, and quite frankly, it didn't do well for me because it was so small, and to be able to get to be able to get it aligned properly and quickly, the current production red dots are a billion times better. As a backup sight, I guess it wouldn't be too bad, but considering what we have now for aim points and such, that's the way to go. I wouldn't even bother with those on a rifle.
Stuart on donor box. He doesn't have a question. He just said we need a foot on a power strip merch, like your foot. Well, his foot is bigger than the damn power strip too. I mean, he has
only
huge,
a size 15.
Size 15. Should see when we try to pack. And he wants to bring extra shoes, and I'm like, God.
No, you're like, no.
Not typical. Thank you, Thomas. Is there any budget ambidextrous lower receivers?
To me, if you're looking for a stock mil spec, Aero Precision, and that is without a doubt the way to go. And Palmetto State Armory, those aren't bad either. I mean, I think they're just as good quality as Aero Precision, at least the ones that I've seen. I haven't seen any bad products from either one of them in lower receivers. There's a lot of companies that certainly make good ones, but budget, I think that's probably as low as I would go in cost would be the Palmetto State Armory or the Aero Precision.
Evolve, thank you. Thoughts on Remington Defense RGP and SMG 45 from LWRC?
The Remington, I have been trying to get my hands on one of those for years, and I have never been able to get my hands on one. If any of you guys got one out there, I would love to see one to do a review on it. For as far as the SMG 45, I already have that on order. I'm just waiting for one to be shipped to me. I ordered that in December. There's not a lot of those around for reviewers right now, but I do have it on order, and it will be here, I hope, hopefully for the next month or two.
Michael on Donor Box, thank you, Michael. Why is it that the first thing people change to modernize the AR platform is to switch it to an external piston system?
There was a time, early years of global war on terror, where that was the thing. Everybody wanted to say how bad the internal piston was and all that kind of stuff. And, HK did a really good job. I mean, actually a brilliant job of marketing that and propaganda and whatnot. And you had some people from special operations who was trying to say that was a better thing. And it's like anything else. You fall on the bandwagon and you follow suit. So there was a brief time. Quite frankly, I think a lot of that's over with. I don't think you have as many people who feel that way anymore. You now have guns that are designed specifically as external piston, Caracal, Taurus, LWRC, guns that are made that way. So if you want one, you just buy one. I would never buy a gun to convert it over unless it was the LMT MRP, where all I got to do is swap out the barrel and the bolt carrier. You see one of the major companies that was making those conversions was Adams Arms. Are out of business. I have an Osprey one that I don't know if those are sold anymore either. Those are the drop-in kits. It's a fad. This industry's gone through lots of fads. The 224 Valkyrie, for instance. I mean, the 68 SPC. You're looking at things that are they're really hot one day and then they just disappear. I think a lot of people have realized that the DI works just fine, and it's not necessary. But companies are smart, because if that's what you want, give it to you. If you have to have an external piston, there's a lot of companies out there who can get it for you.
Josh on Donor Box, he just says thanks for all the great content. Thank you so much, Josh.
I made a mistake the other night. I was bored, and I went on AR15.com.
Oh, that's not good.
And I was just looking at some of the comments that people were making about my video that we did on the the Colt, one we do with Brandon.
Oh yeah.
And it's just amazing to me, people who
Brandon's in here too. I saw him earlier, but I totally forgot to tell you.
I was looking at those comments, and just people, he doesn't know what he wants. You never listen to an ex-employee and all these kinds of things. And I'm thinking to myself, everything in there is documented fact. If you go with the timelines, you look at the dates, and you look at all the things that were done, it's all right there. And for as far as I'm listening to an ex-employee, well, I'm not just an ex-employee. I'm a former.
I know, that's what I was just going to say.
I spent my entire career on this rifle, and I was a consultant for Colt. Colt, before they hired me, paid me a lot of money as an expert.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people really realize that, or they don't really want to deal with the truth of it, which is, it's not like you were a 30-year employee of Colt. Like, you spent your whole life there. You spent 2 years there. You did consulting there, and you worked for LWRC. You worked for L&T. You did forensics for 15 years. You've written for all the gun magazines.
It just amazes me how these guys say, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, I've been there. I was there. I saw all this stuff. I've studied it for my entire life. But that's why I don't go on those things, because, like I said, everybody's got something to say off my soapbox. But that was a mistake. It pissed me off when I went on
there. Joseph says, I've seen that thread. I actually think I commented on it. Yes, that Cajun Catfish, the thread. That's what he's talking about. AR.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Brandon, me and Brandon had some discussions today about some additional things that we're looking to do here. We're looking at doing
the heat cannon.
No, I'm looking at doing a video on a defense home shotgun. We're going to be looking at some of the more common Remington 870s, the new Mossberg magazine fed, and we'll be looking at some of the best ammunition out there. It's a federal 12 gauge tap ammunition. We're going to be going over that. So we're going to be doing some interesting things coming up, and Brandon's going to be getting that stuff for us.
I think we should do something fun with it too, like not necessarily for the video, but just like as a spoof thing. Like you watch some of those shows where somebody rings a doorbell and the guy like draws his weapon and comes to the door. I'm like, do you really answer the door like that every single time? But this time with the shotgun you pull out. Dustin on Donor Box. Thank you, Dustin. Any aftermarket vendor for a gas block with expansion chamber like on the Falcor?
I have never seen that before. This is the first time I ever saw it was on the Falcor Defense. I don't know if it's patented or not. I didn't really get a lot of information on it. But for a rifle that has that much gas in it, and there's that high a pressure, that really makes a difference. I think it's a really neat concept. Would it benefit some of the smaller calibers? Probably not. Especially with the way the ammunition goes. You go from with a light powered Wolf to the higher powered NATO. I don't know how beneficial it would be to a 5.56er, but I think for as far as the 300 Win Mag and the 6.5 Creedmoor and maybe even the 308, it certainly would be beneficial.
Carrie says we have to do the Geek Cannon. I agree with Carrie.
The next one coming up will be, thanks to Henry over at Nine Hole, is the Tech 9.
Yes, that's actually set up behind me right now to film.
Yep.
So we will be doing that.
Actually, that one and the American Defense rifle are set up for
I have something else I've already started editing, but I may stop to film this to get that up because I know everybody wants to see that.
Yeah, the one that she's talking about, we did, it's out of the Sig P320 M8 and the new M8 commercial one. I do give a little bit of a brief history of the original M17, that looks a little bit on the trials, then the P320 M17, and then the commemorative. Then I talk a little about the ones that came in the buybacks from the military. So we go through a little bit of all that.
Brandon says the easiest thing for me to do with Colt is to recommend a substitute product because none of their products are unique. Yeah.
Not to mention, unless you're a big gun shop who has a lot of money to invest, you can't get their products anyways. And if you want to go to a lot of these small gun shops, they can't get Colts because they don't have to do that $10,000 or $12,000 buy-in that they have to do, which is another reason why Colt's not selling stuff, is because they've already eliminated probably 3/4 of the FFLs in this country.
We have Adnan in here. Hey, Adnan, and Pistol Pete has just joined.
Hello, both of you.
I don't think I've seen you since around Christmas time, Pistol Pete. Matt on Donor Box, thank you. Will getting a stainless steel pistol barrel coated in chromium or titanium nitride, will it protect the rifling inside the barrel?
Chrome, yes. The titanium, I really haven't messed with it all. In theory, it probably would, but chrome is about 3 times harder than standard barrel steel. So you put that plating on, you're looking at getting 2 to 3 times the barrel life because of the extra hardness. And again, I've shot chrome barrels my whole life, but as far as the titanium, I never tried a barrel that had that kind of coating on it.
Brett on Donor Box, thank you, Brett. My department just bought the Tri-Arc rifles. Any thoughts on their single-edge polygonal barrels?
I have not had a chance to take a look at that yet. That's one of those guns that I would like to take a look at. There's a lot of stuff that's coming up right now that that I'm trying to get. We're basically trying to finish up the stuff that we've got here that we've had for a while, and then I got a whole bunch of new stuff. Brandon's going to be getting a lot of stuff from me this week or early next week. We got a 9x39 Krebs custom pistol coming in. We got the Glock 44 at some point. We also got the from Rifle Dynamics, one of their AKs. So we got some cool stuff coming in, and we're going to also be doing another video on this Ukrainian gas block. We got the new one in, the new gas regulator. It's awesome. It's a lot better than even the first one. So we're going to be doing an update on that too.
What's your favorite M16 variant? I like the 602 and trying to build a clone.
My favorite one is the XM16E1, the first one that went to Vietnam. Unfortunately, they didn't do well because of the issues with the propellant and non-chrome barrels and everything. But that was the classic Vietnam piece. That is literally my favorite of all the models, is the XM16E1.
Thank you. Thoughts on the SIG's new 277 Fury? Do you think it has the ability to replace the 308 and the round scaled down to the 5.56?
I don't know enough about it. It's something I probably will get in here at some point. This is something that I'm going to wait till the ammunition becomes a little bit more available. Um, there's some guns I've been asked to take a look at, the Sig Cross and things like that. They're basically bolt action type rifles, and that's not really my area. So I generally pretty much stick with the semi-autos, but that's something that I will look into in the future. I think we're going to see some rifles coming out, semi-rifles coming out of that caliber at some point as well.
We have a couple people asking about the Glock 44 and the problems that it's been having.
Okay, well, we'll get into this. I was not, I had been to Glock's, one of their reveals for the Gen 5 went out there. We had those guns like a month or so before they went out. We got to play with them, and we were the first ones to be able to bring it out to you the day that it was released. And I was no longer, for some reason, the last several products I didn't know until you did. And the G44, I didn't know that until after it came out, and I still don't got one. And I sent a request over to Glock, and and I asked, "What, am I not on your list anymore of your preferred media?" And they basically what I was told was their strategy is commercial and the people with a high reach. In other words, I don't have enough subscribers to be part of that elite group of writers and media that gets to see their new products first. So that's why I still, after it's been released, nearly 3 weeks or whatever it was, I still don't got one. So I've been told that one is to be shipping to me anytime. But I was fortunate enough, me and Brandon were out at the range on Monday, and Brandon had one. So he must have put a good, oh geez, Brandon, 300 rounds plus did you put through it? And I got to fire a few shots out of it myself. And the one that we had, or one that Brandon had that I shot, we didn't have any issues with it. Now, you have to be realistic. You're talking about a 22 long rifle. So when you have some of these failures, it's indigenous to a 22 long rifle cartridge. You do have malfunctions with those. That does happen. It doesn't matter how good or bad the gun is. If we end up having one of these things crack, I'll tell you now. I have sitting over here 1,000 rounds of CCI mini mag, about 1,000 rounds of Remington Thunderbolt.
Brandon said 600 plus at least.
Oh, 600. Okay, so it was a lot more than we thought. And some subsonics, some American Eagle. I got a good number of different kinds of ammunition. And when mine comes in, I told Brandon that we have to go back to the range and we'll have both pistols out there, and we're going to shoot the hell out of them, and we're going to see what happens. The gun felt nice. It shot nice for us. I think Brandon would agree. I think it shot well. We did have some malfunctions, but there weren't anything that would be out of the ordinary to any other semi-mag 22 pistol I've ever seen. It's just a matter of the way that the ammunition is. I mean, you occasionally get that 22 long rifle they forgot to put the propellant in, or one that has a bad primer in the back and the riff of the rimfire. I mean, you just have some issues. I haven't seen anything so far that on Brandon's pistol, anyways, there was an issue.
Brandon says 1 FTE, 2 FTF, and a couple light primer strikes, most with bulk 36 GN Federal.
36 Federal. Yeah, that's. I don't see that as being a problem. I don't think there's any 22 that would do any better or worse than. Oh, worse than there's some ones that'll do worse, but I was happy with what I saw there.
Cody, thoughts on 6.5 Grendel? Could it be adopted by the military in some capacity?
The Grendel, no. The Grendel, the 6.8 SPC would have a better shot than the Grendel would, especially being used in a semi-automatic rifle. There's no looking at it now. The military's done. They're looking at a 6.8, and that's where they're at right now. So I don't see the 6.5 Grendel going anywhere as far as military is concerned. I've told you guys before there was a Scandinavian country that one of the companies I was consulting with, they wanted to put the 6.5 Grendel in an assault rifle, and when they tried it on fully automatic, it was a nightmare of the feeding issues. The way the cartridge case and everything is developed is just not designed as a military cartridge. To go on a fully automatic rifle. But for as far as the military is concerned, I don't see any future at all for the 6.5 Grendel or the 6.8 SPC. It's just the new 6.5 millimeter or 6.8 millimeter they're working on right now.
Michael on Donor Box, thank you. I've heard you describe brands from PSA to LMT as, quote, very good quality. Fundamentally, what do you get when you buy a more expensive AR like a Geisley or BCM over a cheaper AR like a PSA or Arrow?
Well, you look at people like Geisley and BCM, you do have higher quality components. Is it going to work any better than some of those other ones? Probably not. You do pay a lot for the quality. You do pay a lot for the names. Um, Performance-wise, it depends. If you consider looking at bolt carriers, for instance, most bolt carriers are come from the same companies. The stuff's mostly all the same, no matter whose name's on it. You know, these days it's hard to go look at something and say I'd buy this off the shelf, because it's just not the way people do it really anymore. They'll go buy something and then they'll trick it out the way that they want. Um, when you get a good military grade rifle from a company who manufactures and designs their guns for real world use, that's where you start seeing the Colts, the LMTs, the Knights, even like the Daniel Defenses. You start seeing some of that. Even Noveski, you got police departments who are buying those. But I would tell you that I've got an Aero Precision here that is just as reliable as any Colt M4 that I got. Even that Palmetto State Armory one I got here, with the amount of rounds I got through it, it would probably last us through the same mil spec test that a Colt would. It's the same materials in the barrel. The receivers all the same 775 T6. The bolt carriers come from the same companies. So sometimes it's hard to justify why. But in the case of Geisley, I mean, if you look at this new rifle that they've got out with all their own stuff on it, I imagine they probably have to pay for the R&D and all that stuff, patents and whatnot. So I imagine. I'm really curious to get my hands on one of their new bolt carriers to see how good it really is. It's funny because he talks about hammer forging a bolt. Well, he's not the first one to do that. I saw that probably 6-7 years ago when I was at it was a trade show in Paris. I saw the guys from Schmeisser, and the guys from Schmeisser, they had hammer forged bolts. They also had tungsten powder buffers. So some of the stuff that some companies bring out as new is not really new. It's just not being done over here. There's a lot of stuff that's being done overseas. So again, the hammer forged bolt, not new. Schmeisser did it years ago.
Captain's orders. Dumb question on charging handles. Vented like Raptor SD. Geisley not vented. PRI gas buster doing their thing. What is the ideal solution for the modern charging handle?
I prefer the PRI gas buster.
Well, at least it wasn't your foot on the switch.
Yes. Since I got here to the free state of Texas, I use suppressors a lot, and I've definitely seen the benefits of the PRI gas buster. Now, for as far as not shooting suppressed, I like the XTS Raptor. Freedom Bones is a good one too. Those are my favorite ones. I do like PRIs. They've got a new gas buster as well, Ambi. That's really nice. But I have to say, in most of my personal rifles, I have the PRI gas busters.
What do you think of Nighthawk 1911s? I know you don't like 1911s, but I was interested in hearing if you thought the Nighthawk was better than a Wilson Combat.
I really couldn't tell you, sir. That is not my area of expertise. I'm not a 1911 guy, as you all know. The only 1911s I've had in here are the Sigs. And I think I had the Colt M45A1, but I just don't really pay attention to those because it's not my thing. Sorry, can't be a little more helpful on that one.
Will on Donor Box. Hi, Chris and Heather. I'm building an M16A2 style rifle, not a true clone, and purchased a Brownells 20-inch A2 barrel assembly. They advertised it having an F-marked FBS. Will it be a problem with sights on the carry handle upper? And what BCG would you recommend for this style of rifle?
Well, if there's an F-mark front sight base, you just want to get the taller. There's a taller front sight post you can get from Brownells, because basically what that is your front sight base on the F sits up just a little bit higher, where it would align properly with when you place the detachable carrying handle on there, so they would line up properly, a little bit sitting up a little bit higher. But using the slightly longer front sight post, you won't have any problems.
I have a donation on donor box from, I'm probably going to butcher your name, Renario Granados. There's not a good question here, so if you have one, please send me an email at hpartachi@smallarmsolutions. Just let me know.
Thank you guys for all your
And,
generosity. Sorry, this is we appreciate it. Keep us going.
I'll make sure. I also have another one from Vaughn Westerby, and there is not a question attached to yours either. So, Vaughn, if you also have a question, just let me know or flag me in the chat or something, and I'll make sure to grab it, or just email me. So my phone's always right here. Opinion on the Toolcraft nickel boron BCG.
Toolcraft is probably the second largest in the industry for as far as putting out to OEMs. I have to say I prefer Microbest a little bit over them. Microbest tends to make a lot better, nicer carriers. And more of in your more top end manufacturers will use Microbest. Toolcraft, they're not bad by no means. I know working at certain companies who use them, they tend to like Microbest better. Microbest, that's probably the main thing that they put out is just bolt carriers. But all the top manufacturers are using them. So that must mean they hold good tolerances and do good with the mass production.
Now that Remington discontinued Bushmaster and DPMS, do you think that Windham Weaponry could buy the brand's name back?
They are not discontinued. Basically, what they're doing is they're focusing on things with less legal issues. If a distributor wants to order, a certain number of guns, they will manufacture them. So they are not shut down. They're just not actively pushing them at this point. Remington got with issues because Connecticut said that the shooting victims from Columbine, was it Columbine? Was that one in Connecticut?
No, that was Colorado.
So the shooting that was in Connecticut, that was and they said they can sue the gun manufacturer. So they're dealing with that right now. But it's not discontinued. They're just not really doing a lot of active marketing and sales right now. So at some point, I do expect them to be back. But say Lipsy's wanted to buy, say, 200 ACRs, they could make that order with them and they could get them. So I don't know what the limited on the numbers are, but they can still buy these products.
Thank you, David. He says, as always, good evening, you too. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. New Haven, yes, sir. That's right, John.
Steve was asking something up here. Oh, what was the gas system length on the Falcor Omega rifle you reviewed?
Rifle. So rifle length with that neat gas block.
Okay. Will Schmeisser Rifles ever be available in the U.S.?
You have the same issues. They'll have the same import issues as H&K does. There was a talk of a company here in Texas bringing some of the parts in. I don't know if it's gotten that far. I haven't seen any for sale yet. Schmeisser makes some nice barrels. They make some nice guns. They're typical German overbuilt stuff. I got to handle some when I was over in France and at a couple other trade shows in the Middle East. They're really interesting rifles. The Oberlin Arms too in Germany. I would love to get my hands on one of those. And shoot them just to see how well they're made. The Hainel, which is the one that's competing with HK for the Bundeswehr for replacement for the G36. I would love to get my hands on some of this stuff, but unfortunately, because of President Bush Sr.'s import ban, we can't see that stuff anymore.
Hi, Trevor. Unfortunately, we don't take PayPal. PayPal is very anti-gun, anti-2A, and even though we don't, use it to sell stuff, they don't want you using it. Pop your question down here. I will try to pull your question. Just put it in the chat, and I'll try to grab it for you. Coffeeholic, what do you know about the history related to the LE6920 Rogers variant? Are they one of the last batch of decent Colt quality? I managed to find one.
That's just him putting his name on it and him suggesting some of the parts. I mean, the 6920s, I remember they used the Rogers stock for a while, but I don't really remember Rogers model other than just Rogers stock. And those were probably, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where Colt was using those. That was right after Colt lost the contract. They stopped using the government stocks and started using those. Now you've seen them with the Magpul stocks. You've seen with all kinds of different stuff. You know, they've gotten together with different people over the years to try to make the quote ideal rifles. You know, but none of the things that they have were really, I mean, like the Colt Combat Unit. The only change was they finally did a mid-length barrel. You know, and they're finally using a good Centurion Arms free float handguard.
This, I don't know if you can do this on here. This might be a video, but this gentleman says, I'm getting into LMT MRP systems. Can you please go over in detail how the MRP barrel locks up into the receiver and whether it is as strong as the traditional barrel?
Oh, sure.
System?
We can definitely answer that one.
Okay.
There's two grooves on the bottom of the barrel when you assemble it. The first one is a lock. It's a locking bolt that goes through and locks it in place, and so it can't tilt, it can't rotate. Then the second one is a clamp. You're basically clamping the receiver around it. It is just as durable as any of the other type ones with barrel nuts or whatnot. Accuracy is beautiful. The accuracy is a true free float barrel. It's as positive lock as you can get. If you look at any of the removable barrels that are out there, none of them are this easy. The only ones that were somewhat this easy were the ACR. That was easier than the LMT because there's no torquing. And then you had the MCS or the Hydra by MGI, and those clamp around the receiver extension. I'm sorry, the barrel extension. They clamped around that, holding it in place, and that wasn't as strong as what LMT has. But no, it is not an issue at all. The accuracy of the LMTs are beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, that's nice. He donated, said, I freaking love you.
Thank you.
Trevor's question was just wondering if you could point me in the right direction on where to get mechanical blueprint packages for the AR-15 and AR-10 rifles. I want to make 3D models for custom calibers I have designed.
Occasionally you can go on the internet and people will have drawings on there. You know, the true drawings, the TDP, that stuff is locked up in safes at Colt and whoever else uses them. Most of the manufacturers have basically reverse engineered over the years. And occasionally drawings have disappeared from Rock Island and places and shown up where people who've been manufacturing them. Companies who've done work for the government, such as making different parts, they would get the TDP drawings. Sometimes those would find their way out and leak out. But the true government TDPs, if that's what you're talking about, there is none for any of the 308s. You have different UPMS pattern and Armalite pattern and so forth. And for ARs, you're looking at companies who have spent a lot of time reverse engineering and making their own prints.
DR on Donor Box, thank you, DR. Are there any steel frames or alloy frame 9mm service pistols from the 1970s, 80s, or 90s that you hold in high esteem?
You know, I have one, and it's a Smith & Wesson 4006. That is the only steel frame and steel slide gun I got. And the reason why that is anybody who knew anything about the Smith & Wesson revolvers knew they were shit. They were not reliable whatsoever. They were probably one of the only service grade semi pistols you had to actually hand fit and file parts down and so forth. But it was it was designed, the 40 caliber was designed with that pistol. And even though it was not the first to come out, there was just an attraction I had to it, with it being the new, the first gun designed for the 40 SW, even though, Glock beat him to the punch and whatnot. That is the only one I've got. And I just got that probably 3 years ago. I've always wanted one many, many years ago. I had a 5906 when I worked at Laserbacks. I bought from them there. And it shot well. Didn't have any issues with it. I just ended up trading in with a lot of other stuff to get my Mark 23 back then. But yeah, that's probably the only one from back in those days. I mean, of course, the Sig would be back in those days as well. I do have a Sig P320 from back then, 40 caliber. Got one of those 9mm caliber USP from back then. Of course, the Berettas. They're all in that 80s to 90s time period.
Do you need a sip of tea?
I got this.
Okay. Captain's orders. Any experience with standard manufacturing from Connecticut? And then his bonus question was, I think you said Mark 18 Mod O had a 6-position buffer tube from LMT.
Mark 18.
Mod O.
Yes. Yeah, the LMT These have always had 6 positions.
Okay.
As far as the manufacturer, I cannot say I'm familiar with that one.
Would it be inappropriate to use an A2 receiver extension and the rifle buffer assembly with a 16-inch barrel with a mid-length gas system?
No, that worked just fine.
Do you know why Sig discontinued the 8-inch MPX? I'm honestly not a fan of the 4.5-inch model.
I am not sure, but if I had to, if I was a betting man, I would say reliability issues. When you get below 10.5 inches, I don't care what they are, you have problems with a gas operated weapon. When you have a barrel that short, you are getting that pressure so high, and you can only plug up a 5-inch barrel for so long, where you start having failures to extract. And especially with those ones where you're starting with residual pressures that are way up there, now you start getting some gas port erosion. It allows even more gas into it. You're going to have failures to extract. The gun will not be able to keep up. The magazine spray just won't be able to keep up with the shot. The shot column won't. And the gun's going to beat the hell out of itself. It's just not a good idea. So considering that SIG is doing a lot of military contracts, I can't see a military buying that because they just don't work.
Is DDM4A1 a SOCOM barrel?
Daniel Defense does manufacture SOCOM barrels, so I don't know what the particulars are, but there is the current does the mod 2, I think it is. They are using Daniel Defense barrels. SOCOM has really been able to, since Colt no longer has the sole
Sean
source.
says it's not a SOCOM profile. The only thing SOCOM is the rail.
Yeah, because they don't have to do the SOCOM profile because they're not using the M203s any longer. So there's no point in having a SOCOM with the slats cut and just having a thicker barrel. Now that Colt no longer has the the sole source on the M4, now all these other companies who make good products and now sell them to the U.S. government, and the U.S. government can buy them. So that's one of the nice things about them not having that sole source is all these other companies that make better gear now have a shot to get stuff sold.
Regarding a previous Q&A, you said that what would Stoner do rifle is completely wrong because it's on a 223 instead of a 308.
That's my opinion.
Didn't have enough room to finish this comment.
No,
but I think you misunderstood. This is the other part, but I think you misunderstood. Their concept is saying, what if we took the technology we have today back to the 60s? What would they do? And since the military adopted in 223, it would obviously be in 223.
That's not what Stoner would have developed. He did develop a 223 based off of his AR-16, which ended up becoming the AR-18. But Stoner did not like manufacturing those rifles. If somebody came to him and they gave him a requirement, he would build the requirement. But if you're going to say, what would Stoner do? Stoner would, the SR-25, that's what Stoner would do. That's what he wanted to do, and that's what he was fond of. He was not fond of the 5.56 at all. I mean, I guess just think about it. He goes to work with Reed Knight. What would Stoner do? Gene said he told Reed, I want to bring back my SR-20 or my AR-10, and I want to put them, make a lot of parts compatibility with the current M16A2, and that's what he did. At no time was he at Knights did he ever work on or develop any 5.56 rifles. He developed his SR-25 and its variants. So this is just my opinion. He liked using lighter weight materials, absolutely. But I think we're going way too far with these lightweight guns because of the fact that they are not going to hold up in military use. They don't, and that's what was shown with the M4, versus the M4A1 in Afghanistan and Iraq. The problems with the overheating of the M4s and whatnot. You want to go so light, but now when they stop working because there's not enough metal on there to keep that barrel cool for extended fire, now you're going to say the gun's no good. Unfortunately, going this light route is a wrong direction. You're making a gun that's inferior. If you have a gun, you're just going to be taking a few shots off, that's fine. But when it's going to be at 115-degree ambient temperature before you fire your first round, then you're going to fire 10, 12 magazines through it. With that lightweight barrel, it's going to overheat and it's going to fail. So, as I said, people are going in the wrong direction with making these 4-pound rifles because you're risking and you're losing too much of what it's supposed to be.
Matt on Donor Box. Thank you, Matt. Do you have any experience or knowledge of the Noriko 223 ammo? Someone is offering me 100 rounds of it for $30. What do you think of the Noriko ammo? Would it be worth the buy?
The 223 mission was not bad. I would not pay any more for that than you would Wolf. Maybe a little bit more, but not much. That ammunition was very cheap. It was very cheaply made. It worked. It was far better than any of their steel AK rounds. It is non-corrosive. Excuse me. It is non-corrosive, but it's not worth by no means more than anything we have today. I would put it up to par with the Wolf Gold, maybe along those lines. Maybe a little bit higher quality than the standard stuff that's coming out of Russia. But by no means is it worth more than a box of American Eagle. If you had a box of American Eagle next to that, American Eagle's going to be worth a lot more. It's going to be a lot higher quality than the Noriko. But it definitely had a lot more quality control than the 760 by 39. Those of you who are familiar with the Chinese ammo, all the stuff in the spam boxes and stuff, when you would fire that shit, it sounded like Chinese fireworks. Boom, boom, boom. When you used to have, it would sound like fireworks would go off because the charges were very erratic. They weren't precision. Not to mention, you'd see sparks flying out of the barrel from the steel bullets on the steel barrels. Fortunately, those Noriko 223 were full metal jackets. They were not bimetal and they were not steel. But as I said, it's good ammunition, but it's not worth any more. Don't pay more than you do for your current target ammo.
What do you think about the durability between the CHF nitride barrels like that of the MCX and the chromed CHF barrels?
It's an interesting concept. We've talked about this before. Current mil spec calls for chrome plated. Now, a lot of manufacturers, have looked at gone to the nitride, so forth. There has not really been too many military sales. Actually, none that I'm aware of here in the U.S. that are not chrome plated. I have not seen any scientific tests that have done side by side to see which one is better. We do know how good the chrome plating is. We do know about how hard that is and how easy it is to clean. We do know, of course, the chrome will eventually flake off. It's an issue that comes up with it. But nobody has ever done a proper test, a scientific test, and compared barrel life and under different conditions, under a semi-automatic, or under a sustain rate and under full auto fire to see what the actual difference is. And that's what I'm waiting to see, is for someone to do a proper test to make that kind of a determination, because everybody's got an opinion. Many companies think that the nitride is better, but until we see some kind of empirical data that's done scientifically, we just don't know it. People are just throwing around their opinions. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. I know what the chrome plated barrels do. I do have now several of the nitride barrels here. I've shot them. I haven't shot them anywhere near like I do the chrome plated ones. So that's a question until somebody does a proper test. We just don't know.
Adnan on Donor Box. From your time spent at the Caracal facility at Abu Dhabi in the UAE, did you get to see the CAR 816 rifle chamber in 7.62 by 39? Seen some older trade show photos of the rifle in that caliber, and it utilized the elongated AR magazine, similar to the C Products Defense type magazine.
Yes, they had it there. I wasn't as interested in it because actually there wasn't a lot of interest in it from anybody. That is basically a NATO type country over there, so they're using 5.56 NATO. They had it so that they could go to other trade shows, and there are people who would want a 7.62 by 39 rifle and the AR platform. It was never popular. They had a lot of prototype stuff in their what do you call it room, their R&D room in there, different calibers and whatnot. But I spent a lot of my time just seeing how well made the 816 was. Like I said, you walk right out the back door, it's desert. It's empty, open desert, and talk about a proving ground for a gun in the desert. You just got to walk out their back door.
Stephen on Donor Box, he said, "You're one of the best. We're on a tight budget, but I will try to make regular donations.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Better soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate the support.
We are definitely a viewer funded channel. That's how we make our videos and go forward. And
Yes.
we are not a channel that takes sponsorships. I do get emails for them. We do get people that want that, and we don't do it. I just think that his word and everything he says in his opinion is so, there's such a value to that. I wouldn't want to degrade it by taking money.
Let me say this again. People say because I speak so highly of LMT that I'm in somebody's pocket. I am not. I do not work for LMT. No matter who we are.
He hasn't consulted for LMT in years.
Everybody has what they think is the best for whatever reason they think is the best. And I'm no exception. And that happens to be my favorite in the industry for, for any number of reasons. But I don't receive a paycheck. I don't receive free gear. I don't receive anything from LMT. That is stuff that I've seen and trusted through the years and seen nothing but it getting better.
Sorry, I'm trying to filter through conversations that people are having and simple questions. Thank you. Colt SOCOM HRT 11.5 versus FN CHF pencil 11.5 semi-auto unsuppressed.
Well, if you look at the difference between the two of them, I mean, you're looking at the same barrel profile. So with the barrel, what's really going to mean the difference is the barrel profile. Which one's heavier? If it's heavier, it's going to give you a longer sustained rate of fire. It's going to give you more. It's just going to take longer for it to overheat and whatnot. So I would say from a mechanical standpoint, those both would be equal. Now I don't know what gas ports the FN's using, but
this might be a little bit more. I think he revamped Colt SOCOM /HRT 11.5 versus FNCHF pencil 11.5 semi-auto unsuppressed.
Well, obviously the heavy barrel is going to give you more accuracy. It's going to give you better for sustained rate of fire. The pencil barrel for lighter use, it will be a little bit less accurate. I mean, you figure you have an 11.5 inch barrel, versus the heavy SOCOM barrel. I would think that depending on what you're using it for, from a mechanical standpoint, the heavy barrel's better for numerous reasons. But if you're somebody who has to have that lightweight, obviously that's what you go for the for the pencil barrel. It all comes down to weight. It's are you willing to accept the weight to have those benefits? Because if you look at the two, the only negative for the one is weight. If you were to compare that to the pencil barrel, okay, I lose the rate of fire, no, because it'll overheat. Ambient temperature, rate of fire goes up, overheat. Accuracy, it has different barrel harmonics. It's not as accurate. So it's a matter of you being able to say, well, I'm willing to take the benefits of that heavier barrel to have all these mechanical advantages, which unfortunately tends not to be the attitude these days. Everybody, again, today wants everything to be a feather. And, if you have to ever use those in the real world, they'll see that's not as good of an option.
Will LMT ever make a chrome enhanced BCG? I emailed them all the time asking, and they just give me the runaround. I definitely would buy a few if they would.
I've been talking to Carl about that for quite some time. I even got a prototype one here that I had made up. I was doing consulting for them. I still push it. I still push some other changes too. So Carl has informed me that we may see some enhancements coming up in the near future. He didn't say what they were, but I guess they are working on some even more enhancements for that group. I do hope the chrome plating is one of them. That's something that, again, I've been trying to get him to do for years.
Do you know what happened to Caracal? I can't find the rifles anywhere, and they don't answer emails.
All I know is Caracal has moved to, I think it's Iowa. They moved some there, so I don't know what's going on. I have not talked to them in a while. I know they were at SHOT Show, I was told. I mean, I'll give Jeff a call and try and see what's going on. I haven't talked to him since the new year. I'll make some phone calls this week, and then the next time we have a Q&A, I'll have some answers for you.
Yeah, because people have been asking about that too. What are your thoughts on the Colt expanse with the SOCOM barrel?
As long as you understand that it's not Colt and you're fine with that, go for it. The only thing bad I ever said about the Expanse was that the parts weren't made by Colt. I never said that the gun didn't work or wasn't good, wasn't accurate, wasn't reliable. I never said any of that. The difference with the Expanse versus everything else, if you know you're not getting a Hartford horsey, then you're getting something subcontracted out, and you're fine with that, all the more power to you. I had never said anything about the quality. So, um, you know, you get it, it works, you're awesome.
Do you not recommend the MPX anymore?
Oh, I love the MPX. The MPX, if I had to take my favorite 9mm, I have many of them. It would be that one. That would be number one, and number two would be a Banshee with the radial delayed blowback that has a locking mechanism. No, I absolutely love the MPX. I've got one. I have an SBR MPX. Suppressed. It's beautiful.
Brent is saying the SOCOM barrels in the Expanse are Colt. They were sent to finish the production contract.
I'd want to see the barrels because my guess is you're going to see a W on them for Wilson. Colt hasn't been making their own barrels for quite some time. So,
and then somebody said Caracal moved to Boise, Idaho.
Okay, yeah. Well, as I said, Colt has been contracting their barrels out. Any of you guys who got any of them recently, take your handguards off and look towards the chamber. And my guess is you will see a W or another letter. So they're not actually made in Hartford, but they're supposedly they're all made to Colt Strongs.
Sorry if the your TVs are shaking. He's knocking into the desk. Who makes a good beginner AR to learn?
Aero Precision it's great. Like $600 or $700, you got yourself basically an M4. It's basic. It's a great price and a great value. So I definitely would say that. Another one would probably be even the PSA PS15, the standard grade. That's a good one to start with because what you can do is once you get it all, baseline rifle, then as time goes on, you buy a new stock, you buy a new pistol grip, you buy optic for it, you buy an updated trigger group for it. You basically it's a building block. You start with that, but you start with something that's decent. Armalite makes a good defender rifle. It's around the same price, around the 700 mark. Those are really good. If it were me and I wanted to buy something for somebody who's starting out, I think the Aero Precision would be my choice.
I just got a nice text message from Carrie.
Oh.
He says, "Please show your face. Chris is the front man. You're the magic behind the curtain."
I tell her all the time.
I like that.
This is not me telling her to stay in her place. This is not me doing that.
Oh my God.
This is her just refusing to put her face in her. She doesn't realize that probably half you guys are here because of her.
Any experience with a Walther PPQ pistol, specifically the Navy SD?
No, sir, and I'll tell you why. I've tried to get guns from them in the past, and they want me to give them a credit card. Basically, they charge me for the firearm, and then when I send it back, they'll refund it.
And we don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the money of some of these other channels to be able to do those kinds of things. So if they don't want the free advertising, if somebody wants to send me one, I'm happy to do it. But I'm certainly not going to beg those guys to give them free advertising. And again, I don't ask to keep any of this stuff. Once I do the review, it goes back.
Thoughts on binary triggers? You recommend Franklin or Fostech?
I don't recommend either one of them. I don't like the concept. I don't like the concept of fire on release. Maybe it's just because I've been using full auto so long, and I've always used it. Going to something where you have a fire on release, I don't like the concept. I just don't. Somebody was telling me that if you hold the trigger back and you don't want it to fire when you reset it, there's something that you can do so it will stop. But to me, I just don't think it's safe. I don't like it. For as far as quality is concerned, most companies do a good job. I know Fostech very well, and Franklin. I'm sure they're both equally as good. The one that you hear most of it from was always Franklin. They're the sort of the beginning of it all.
Coffeeholic is saying he's not getting a clear answer to his question. I don't know if it's something you didn't answer clearly. I looked up, but I couldn't find
Coffee
it.
Hall, can you email Heather with the specific questions on exactly what you
Does
want?
using a silencer long-term shorten barrel life?
Well, it certainly will give you more gas port erosion. Um, Also, it will get more heat. The heat goes back into it. Um, I don't think that you would really notice too much, but the gun gets hotter a hell of a lot quicker. And the biggest enemy to a barrel is heat. So it ain't good. But, then again, any suppressor is not good for a rifle. You're creating an overpressure condition. And with carbines, barrels shorter than that, you're creating a lot more because you already have less dwell time than you would with a 20-inch barrel. So your bolt is trying to open up quicker. Just in normal use, now you're going to add a suppressor to it, and you're going to probably boost up your rate of fire an extra 100 rounds a minute, around that, if not a little bit more. So it makes the system overall a little less reliable. But I'm not really going to say that it's going to do a lot unless you're doing a lot of full auto. Semi-auto, you're not doing that much hot. I think you'll be fine. I've suppressed 11.5-inch barrel. I've suppressed 10.5-inch barrels. I've done the 10.5-inch barrels on full auto like crazy, and not really had too much of an issue. But you do notice when you're using those guns, those short barrels, your rate of fire gets higher as you go along. Sometimes using some of this lighter pressured ammunition helps out a little bit because you're starting off with less than you are with a NATO round, but that's all voodoo anyways for as far as using specific kinds of ammunition with a specific suppressor setup.
Thoughts on 224 Valkyrie?
I think that it's died a slow death. I don't hear much about it at all anymore. I don't see a lot of manufacturers who are making them. People have done it, and I don't. It seems like all its steam has been lost. It's an interesting concept, absolutely. Firing that heavier bullet at that velocity is actually, it's neat. It's a neat concept. It's something you need a longer barrel for. I've got one sitting right next to me that I just haven't had the energy really to go out and do anything with it. I have to do it because I have to get it back. But when I was out with it, I had Henry Chan review out with me too, and he wasn't impressed with the groups that it was getting. It's a Windham weaponry one, and I did have a 224 Valkyrie LMT, which did significantly better than this Windham did. But and again, I don't have access to a 1,000-yard range where we can see what it's really supposed to do. But I think that it's died a very slow death. I think you only have a couple companies that are making ammunition for it still. You see, you got Hornady's making it in Federal. I think those are the only two companies that are making ammo for it. It just died quick. It happens. Those fads.
Are there any AR manufacturers that are especially good at making ARs and 300 blackouts? SIG comes to mind, but I'd prefer DI.
There's no secret in making blackouts. The biggest thing that you want to do with a blackout is to make sure that if you're going to be using suppressed, that you get the pistol length gas system. I think that's one of the big things is you have to find out what you're going to be using the gun for. If you're going to be using a 16-inch barrel with supersonic, you need a carbine gas system, and stick with that. If you're going to be messing around with subsonic ammunition, you need to go with a excuse me. You need to go with a pistol length gas system. The other thing is too, I would like to see. Thank you.
It's T.
Another thing that I would like to see is a separate barrel being made. You have to have like a 1-7 or a 1-8-inch barrel to stabilize those 220 grain, 208 grain bullets. I would like to see a specific barrel made in 1-10 or 1-11 to fire the supersonic 300 blackout rounds. So those who are not going to be using subsonic rounds could have a better projectile, better accuracy. That's something I have not seen anybody done, is to make a proper barrel for the supersonic round. But everybody wants to go with that, want to be able to do either or with the sub and the supersonic. But it's nothing complicated about making it. It's just a matter of the pistol length gas system versus the carbine. Pistol, you think of if I'm going to use subsonic, rifle if I'm not going to. I'm a carbine length if I'm not going to.
Thoughts on the Ruger Precision rifle?
Again, we're looking at bolt action guns that I just don't really get into. Ruger traditionally with their bolt action guns, they do hammer forged barrels. Ruger also, they tend to be accurate, but it's just not my area. I have been thinking about getting into doing a little bit more with bolt actions. Because again, me and Henry work really close. He's the one who can get me those, to do that proper testing and get the groups and whatnot. I thought about it. I was sort of surprised to see the Falcor defense video didn't do as well, because again, you're looking at a really precision rifle there. So I'm not sure, how y'all are going to react to doing something on bolt action, if it's going to interest you guys or not, because that's generally not what you come to Small Arms Solutions for.
Thank you, Dan. LWRC 68 was designed around the mag that, I just lost it, that them and Magpul made.
Well, the 6.8 magazine came out of LWRC. They were looking at doing a contract for a Middle East customer. And the biggest problem that LWRC found, like everybody else did, they found that there was a problem with reliability in the magazine, especially firing on full automatic. So LWRC, which is a company with a very fine engineering staff, they said, well, we're going to make the proper magazine. We're going to make this gun a 6.8, not an AR-15. So they looked at the shot column and how the round sat, and they found out what the proper dimensions would be. They got it with Magpul. Magpul made a specific magazine for the 6.8, and that's where that came from. And ever since, Magpul has provided those for the LWRC rifles. Now, I'm not aware of anybody else that is using them, which is too bad, because it's a lot better of a system than trying to make it an AR magazine feed that cartridge. I have actually 2 LWRC rifles behind me. I got I have a personal 6.8A5. It's my personal one. And then I got the UICW behind me too. You can see it right there. And that's got that magazine as well.
Oh, we have the Aussie. He said, being Australian, the Steyr AUG has served us well, but the M16A2 would have been a better buy, in my opinion. What other small arms bought by other militaries have you holding your head saying, what were they thinking? Well, that would be a good series.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to money. It's how much money somebody wants to spend. And if you look at any kind of a foreign contract, you do have countries, for say India, for instance. Now, India, that's a country that says, okay, we want this rifle, but we want to build it here. So now you get a company like FN will say, we'll sell you the rifles, but we're not setting up a facility in your country. So there's a lot of factors that go into what countries do. There are countries, for instance, Chile was one. There's another one of those countries that they'll adopt a rifle and they build it in the country at FMI. Well, I think there was a couple guns that they wanted to purchase, but the companies refused. We're not going to set up a facility there. You're going to have to buy them from us. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. The Steyr AUG was 90s. I'm just surprised you guys cut them as long as you did. The guns were, the stuff's really, really old and outdated. I'm also probably, to be honest with you, I'm not really fond of those anyways. But you look at countries who buy cheaper stuff. I can tell you, I've gone to countries where I've seen Bushmaster ARs. I've seen Olympic arms rifles that have been sold to militaries. And you want to talk about what the hell were you thinking? People, they buy what's cheap and not what's best. You see a lot of countries who will make requirements, and you're asking yourself, where the hell did this come from? And you obviously you're going to give them what they want. You're not going to say you're really way off for thinking about it this way. So that's really what it comes down to. Is you look at what the requirements are, the guns that they want. Is it going to be bought from the company, or is it going to have to be set up there? There's so many things. It's plus the price. There's a lot. By the way, I showed my daughter a video today of Australia, and it had the Australian Army. They were rescuing koala bears, and she just absolutely loved it.
I think she's ready to go.
She's ready. She wants to go to Australia. She wants to be able to hold and feed the koala bear the eucalyptus leaves. But that was actually really cool seeing the the Australian Army going there and helping all these animals. That was really cool.
Patrick, thank you. What's the parts compatibility between the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 7.62? Also, idea barrel lengths between the two.
Well, the only difference is would be the barrel. It uses the exact same bolt, exact same magazine, and so it's just the barrel that's different. Now, there is this thing about high pressure bolts, high pressure firing pins. Now, I can tell you, I have a 6.8 barrel for my LMT. They use the exact same bolt carrier group they have used forever with their rifles, and I have never had an issue, with it. So is these high pressure bolts and firing pins necessary? I don't know. I've never seen any need for it. So occasionally you will see that, but for as far as ideal barrel length, you want at least 22 inches. I was trying to get a company to make me a 20-inch version for the hell of it, because I want to see it in a 16-inch version. And they said a 20-inch they could probably do. They never got to me. They said, but a 16-inch would be pure hell because of the way the powder burns in it. And you would lose so much of your accuracy with those shorter barrels that it wouldn't even be worth it. It'd be better to stay off with 308. But 22 would probably be the minimum. Would be your best overall. Would be 22-inch, 24-inch, probably more ideal.
We have a donation from New Zealand for Bigfoot hunting and booze fund.
Oh, thank you so much.
He'll take the Bigfoot hunt. I'll take the booze fund.
Hey, how are you guys doing with your LMT rifles? Have you guys heard any more about any more issues? Or are you guys happy with them? Of course, we don't hear too much over here about that.
Because I'm wishing right now that this tea was wine. Thank you, Parker. I have heard the is that Lila barrel and 300 Win Mag Mark 13 will wear out at approximately 1,000 rounds. Is there any truth to this? Love the channel as well. Yes,
300 Win Mag and 338 Lapua barrels. Yeah, these are not chrome-plated barrels. These are standard steel barrels. They're extremely high velocity. Yes, snipers do. They go through barrels relatively quickly. These do not have the 2,000-3,000 round barrel life. They start losing that accuracy. Are they serviceable more? Yeah, but if you want to try to get those half MOA groups, you're not going to maintain that much after 1,000 rounds.
Solomon wants to know, I'm thinking of getting a PCC 16-inch Foxtrot and Mike FM9 for competition. I was curious if you have tried them out and what are your thoughts?
No, I have not. No, sir. Either one of those by FM9. Look up FM9 pistol. Maybe it's just not coming to me.
Yeah, here it is. Foxtrot.
No, I'm not familiar with this company. So I know what I'm gonna have to put down to take a look at.
Sean says he likes the Triarchs. Any experience with the newer LaRue LAT handguards that actually is affordable and way cheaper than a Geisley?
No, I haven't never gotten LaRue parts in here. I think I've told you guys for years I've tried to get LaRue guns in here, and they've basically told me that they don't have anything for writers to get guns from them. So I guess they expect you to buy them, and my channel doesn't have the funds to go out and buy guns to review. This doesn't happen. So I've been unable to get anything out of them. If anybody wants to send me a LaRue, I'd love to take a look at them. But unfortunately, if I don't have physical experience with something, I'm not going to give you guys opinions of it. It just, I heard from so-and-so. It doesn't work that way. I've seen people who have very different opinions, so I'm only going to tell you if I have experience myself.
Have you shot the B&T Grasshopper mouse?
No. I am trying to get B&T guns, and I've had a hell of a time. Mac seems to be in with those guys pretty good. I did ask him one time about getting me a contact there. I never heard back from him. But I have been trying like hell to get B&T many different guns from them, and that was one of them too. I want to see this new 9mm SMG that the government's buying, and so forth. But there's another company that is just not returning phone calls or emails.
Thoughts on the Geisley 3-gun trigger?
Anything Geisley puts out are beautiful triggers. The trigger is a little bit nicer, I think, for those who want to get off rapid shots, because it's a lot more conducive to getting off rapid shots. Geisley is a company I couldn't recommend any higher. Yeah, any of their trigger mechanisms.
What's the benefit of Tavor? And it says in India.
Israel will allow them to manufacture them there. If you look at IWI in Israel, the way the company's set up, they're not really set up to manufacture large quantities of guns. They're more set up to develop and into license. So that's you know, they did the same thing in Vietnam with the Gill Aces and 72 by 39. You know, they sold the gun. They set up a production facility in Vietnam. That is one company that does like to sell a design and then, you know, and license the country to manufacture them. I'm, you know, again, I'm not a bullpup fan. You know, if I was forced to tell you which bullpup I like the best, I would say it would be the Timor. Timor feels better to me than any other ones do.
Question about selecting a piston upper. Would you select the HK MR556A1 upper or the Brownells BRN 180? Is the extra money worth it for the HK, or is the BRN 180 the best value?
To be honest with you, it would be neither. First off, the BRN 180 that I have here, the accuracy is just not there. It's not what it's. I mean, it's a 3 to 4 MOA gun. For that kind of money, I would expect more. And the HK, although it's very, very accurate, is by no means worth that kind of money. There are other options for you to get. I mean, hell, for what you would pay for a Brownells type upper receiver with the HK parts, you could buy an LMT MRP upper with the piston barrel and bolt carrier. I mean, you look at Sig. Sig makes some of the 516. You can get those upper receivers. Well, who else? I don't know if Caracal was selling just upper receivers or not. You got Primary Weapon Systems. There's an external piston gun that does that. So you do have other options. Unfortunately, no longer Adams Arms, but you do have other options that are going to be better. You're looking at two ends of the spectrum. You're looking at that the gun that we had here that Henry shot a group with Mark 262 ammunition. He was sub MOA with that HK rifle. For that kind of money, you expect the freaking bullets to have microchips in them that direct them to the damn target for that kind of money. But I gotta say that the BRN 180, it was reliable. It functioned very well. I had no issues with it whatsoever. But I had 3 of those guns, and they're also manufactured by PWS. They're not manufactured by Brownells. And they told me that my group sizes were very unusual. And but I got a guy next to me who's firing it, who I watch him do, just under half MOA with an AR, or even anything else. And then he takes this rifle and it's all over the place. That's not the shooter. That's the rifle. So hopefully I didn't make your dilemma more complicated.
Thoughts on the CX4 Storm?
No longer in production. I think they're out of production. I don't think Brett even offers them any longer. It was a neat gun. The only thing that was really neat about it is that it took Beretta magazines, but it did not do very well. Beretta was trying to give them away at one point. You bought X amount of Beretta pistols, they would throw in X amount of CX4s, but it just didn't. The gun didn't sell.
Thoughts on the PSA MP5 clone?
I have not seen one of those yet. As I said, I will be getting a lot more PSA stuff in here. And I remember somebody saying they were missing at the SHOT Show too. They weren't showing them. So I don't know what the particular issue is with that, but they were supposedly absent at the SHOT Show.
Well, I think we're going to shut it down for the night. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for everybody who donated tonight. We appreciate you. That pays our electric bill for the month. True story.
Thank you so much.
If you guys have questions outside of the chat, you can always just make a donation to the channel in any amount, just a couple bucks. You can get that link on smallarmsolutions.com and put your question in the notes section, or you can send me an email separately to hbartacci@smallarmsolutions.com. People send pictures. We had somebody who sent in photos today that needed some help. So that's always available to you. And that, when you have a few people donate a few bucks here and there, that's what keeps us going and keeps the channel running. So thank you. Thank you for just being here. Yeah. Josh, thank you.
Hope y'all enjoyed it. We'll talk to you soon.
Try to see you next week. Maybe we'll do our Valentine's special.
Yes,
like we
Valentine's special.
We did last.
For all you who are not fortunate enough to have a gem like I have to spend Valentine's Day with, make it so you're not bored.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.